So it's always been really odd to me that a religion that views itself as the sole way to the sole path that a human being can have to God. I say God because the word God is a non-unique identifier. It's a label. And I know I've talked many times on this channel about how that non-unique identifier creates a box that people fill with whatever they want to define as God. But what has been really weird for me with this religion is that it involves so many aspects that appear so deeply pagan, like moving from animal sacrifice to the sacrifice of one human being instead of the road to salvation being only in the road to eternal life, only being attainable through the putting of a person's will, their selves upon the altar, and them sacrificing that. Not in the sense of sacrificing their lives, but it would be to sacrifice the normal human drive, which causes the foundation of what is evil within a person, which is reacting out of fear and the reaction out of a need to survive, because the survival instinct puts you in a position as a human being. Your core drive, you're going to do whatever it takes to survive, whether that be killing, stealing, and destroying. You are then going to, in order to create your own continuity, you would do whatever it takes to gain power and control over all other individuals so that you can then hoard power, you can hoard control, and you can hoard resources. And so I would think that that has to be the thing that would be sacrificed, not another human being on behalf of all others. And I think that that's really caused a core failing in Christianity, that that there is this fixation on the death of an individual, the celebration on the death of someone else instead of the death of one's character. Because as I will continually maintain, Christianity should only be taught as a form of deconstruction in which someone deconstructs out of whatever you were raised with. Because I always teach people, like, don't ever believe that you were born evil. People who teach that stuff are like incels who never birthed children or never had families and never really understood how human beings come into the world. And are taught to be evil. You have your natural biological drives and your natural evolutionary drives to survive. And so you as a human being, whether or not you know or aware, like you have knowledge of good and evil, you're going to do what it takes to survive. You're going to eat whatever is needed to survive. You may hoard calories because of the genetics that have been passed down to you. But I have never understood. It has always given me the ick that that another human being had to be sacrificed. And I get how people arrive at the fact that God came down into earth, lived as a man, and that's one belief, and sacrificed himself, like to himself. That whole vagary there has been another one of the core failings. And I know I'm making some theologians, like scream, and some apologists will probably create some videos on this, may already have, but I think the core failing of Christianity is that it calls itself the way, the only way. And it used a human sacrifice of something else other than the sacrifice of the human being who claims to be a follower of the way or of Christianity. But it was through the use of the sacrifice of something else that it's caused a fatal flaw within Christianity, which is a person's mind. It's kind of like in that video where dead Jesus is sitting up on the cross, like suffering. That's the weirdest mess. If you're on, if for the guy, this is not to the commenter, but for the people who are on my YouTube channel, you have to go to the short where Jesus falls. And I think I either called it Jesus Falls or anyway, it's the one where the Jesus on a cross during the parade, like the cross falls, and I like asked the core question. I understand why they're doing this, because truly, when a Christian would like to say, and this is my personal opinion, if a Christian would like to say thank you to their God, to Christ, who they believe life was sacrificed for them, then they would sacrifice the aspects of their human nature that cause them to do evil. I was writing, beginning it kind of like as a book, but then I thought maybe a Substack article, but I don't know yet, on this subject, because the way Christianity is set up, it leads you to hyper focus, depending on your like sect of Christianity. And this is not just to the my mutual here, but I say this to everyone, like Christianity, this whole aspect of Christianity causes people to hyper focus on the death of someone else, the sacrifice of someone else, the sacrifice of something else, rather than the sacrifice of their own will, because it's your own natural biological drive to survive any which way you can that causes people to do what is called sinning, which is that requires, I think I'm gonna have to I think I'm gonna have to phone some theologians about how sin is defined, because the thing that I was working on, I realized that the problem is that different sects of Christians define what sin is in different ways, where you'll have Christianity, Christians were supposed to be removed from the curse of the law, not just the curse of the law, having to follow the law, but for some reason they go into the Bible, they go into the laws, and then they cherry pick the ones that they feel that people should follow, and then they call not following those sin. And so there's this conflagration of vagaries that and I'm going too long. There's a conflagration of vagaries that makes what is sin in a way up to the Christian and the sect that they're following. And I find that heartbreaking. I find that heartbreaking and a fatal flaw of Christianity. But I will say this, and it's as I was saying before, I'll wrap this up here because I think I'm going long-winded. I really think that, like, as a writer, people that has edited many a paper and a thing for myself and individuals, it's a fatal flaw and an error, like the fact that it took the sacrifice of someone else and that they were using the sacrifice of something else instead of the sacrifice of their own ways of being. That has become a fatal flaw in Christianity. Like I pointed out the other day, one of the fatal flaws of Christianity is the fact that in all of the Abrahamic religions that folded into those religions is misogyny and patriarchy and the gaining of power and control and the unification of a people around ideas. There's a fatal flaw of using that religion to gain power and control over people and to sort of order everyone around a set of ideas, which, as we see in the Old Testament, we see that it was a problem that there were so many laws and that it was just so legalistic that I'm not trying to insult all of that, those people, but you can look at all those laws and to see how easily your life just trying to live, you could run afoul and have committed a sin when things should be a lot more simpler than that. And that's just one of the fatal flaws of Christianity, is that you're, even now in modern times, you're still people, and I see them all the time, struggle with what really is sin, because sin in different persons' opinions, depending on the sect that you are, the type of Christianity that you are following, it could be something different. So it feels that Christianity, as I say, is drunk at the wheel and far too many lives, and it is disjointed and it is clay, and I feel fine with telling people, hey, if you don't want to follow that, don't follow it, because it doesn't know what it is and its adherents don't know.